Seer of tomorrow. Listen closely, for we speak of the days when the Spirit moved with power, before the age of too much noise. We speak of Jedidiah, whose name means beloved of Yah, though he felt himself but dust beneath the feet of the Lord. Jedidiah was a shepherd of the Judean wilderness near the town of Tekoa. His days were measured by the bleating of his flock and the trajectory of the sun. He knew the wilderness intimately, not just its dangers of jackals and thieves, but its profound, echoing silence. This silence became his tutor. While the men in the villages spoke of commerce and politics, Jedidiah listened to the ancient voice of the mountains. He saw the pride of the cities, their elaborate altars, and the hollow laughter in their feasting halls. He saw his people forgetting the weight of the covenant, trading the eternal word for fleeting comfort. His heart became a well of sorrow. He would stand at the edge of the wilderness, hands gripping his staff, and weep for a future he could not see but could deeply feel. A future that felt heavy with impending loss. He prayed not for wealth or fame, but for sight. Lord, reveal the tomorrow that frightens me, that I may stand firm in your today. And so the Lord prepared him, as one prepares a scroll for the inscription of a king's decree. He was denied sleep, finding only fitful rest. He denied himself rich foods. He sat at the mouth of his cave, contemplating the passage of the Jordan and the relentless nature of time. On the seventh day of his fasting and watching as the sun dipped below the distant salt sea, a powerful weariness overcame Jedidiah. He slept, and his spirit was lifted from his body and taken to a place high above the world, a peak of terrible isolation. Before him stretched the desert of all time, a vista that encompassed thousands of years, yet occurred in a single terrifying instant. He first saw the works of man. The desert floor was continually shifting, revealing and then burying four great structures, each one mightier and more arrogant than the last. The first was a mighty fortress, built not of stone, but of polished iron and bronze. It was secured by walls so thick they seemed to defy God's hand. Its people believed in force, in the strength of the soldier, and the power of the chariot. But as Jedidiah watched, the desert wind turned to rust, and the iron tower slowly crumbled under the weight of its own unyielding hardness, swallowed by a storm of red dust. Next, he saw a civilization rise, dazzling in its brilliance, built entirely of glass and silver. Its people worshipped knowledge and image. They knew the movement of the stars and the depths of the ocean. Their light was blinding, but their walls were brittle. A single sharp sound, a cry of ignored injustice, cracked the foundation, and the glittering city imploded, its sharp shards buried by the sands of forgetfulness. Then came the most beautiful and the most deceptive, a tall, delicate spire of purest gold. Its people worshipped wealth and comfort. They possessed endless goods, yet their faces were vacant. They did not notice the sand creeping in beneath their silken carpets. This spire collapsed without a sound, simply dissolving under the slow, corrosive pressure of its own weight, leaving nothing behind but the empty, glittering grains of 1,000 broken promises. Finally, Jedidiah saw a terrifying, sprawling network, a labyrinth of shadows and fog, built not of metal or stone, but of ideas and confusion. Its people were connected by countless invisible threads, their faces lit by small individual flames, yet they were utterly alone, unable to find the exit. This labyrinth did not collapse, but its inhabitants simply stopped moving, paralyzed by fear and doubt, letting the slow, silent sands bury them where they stood. Jedidiah cried out, his spirit trembling, "Where is the end? Is all of tomorrow only building toward ruin and despair?" As his human hope failed, the terror of the shifting sands retreated. The desert vanished, replaced by an expansive, calm horizon. A profound stillness settled upon his vision, a stillness beyond the comprehension of man. Then, from the horizon, a river of living water appeared. It was clear as crystal, flowing not from the melting of snow, but from an eternal, unseen source. It bypassed the ruins of the iron, glass, and gold structures. It flowed relentlessly, untouched by the corruption of the age. On the banks of this river, a single mighty tree of life grew. Its leaves were of the deepest green, its bark was strong as cedar, and its roots plunged past the earth deep into the flowing water. Jedidiah realized the tree was the tomorrow of God's promise. He saw that the people who fled the crumbling towers and the collapsing spire did not vanish into the sand. Instead, they staggered thirsty and broken toward the river. He saw those who had lost the iron tower learn to use their hands to build simple, strong vessels for the river, grounded in truth, not force. Those who fled the city of glass learned to use their vision to look not at their own reflections, but toward the guiding light filtering through the tree's leaves. Those who escaped the spire of gold learned to exchange their empty wealth for the unending fruit of the tree, giving freely to those who had nothing. Jedidiah saw that the chaos of man was only the surface, the shroud covering the deep, steady work of the divine. The river was the covenant of mercy. The tree was the promise of redemption. Then the voice, the profound stillness that spoke from the heart of the tree, resonated through his very bones. Jedidiah, you have seen tomorrow. You have seen that man's striving is vanity, but my kingdom is everlasting. The desert will always shift, the towers will always fall, and the shadows will always tempt. But my river flows through all these things. The tomorrow you fear is merely the pathway to the tomorrow I promised. The vision slowly began to recede, but the final commandment was burned onto his soul. Go now, speak not of the iron or the gold, lest you fill their hearts with dread. Speak only of the river that flows and the tree that stands. Call them to the living water, that they may build their lives not on the shifting sand of their own ambition, but on the enduring truth of my presence. Jedidiah awoke, rising from the cold earth. The sun was fully risen, bathing the hills of Tekoa in a light that felt new and blessed. He was Jedidiah the shepherd no longer. He was the seer of tomorrow. He went down to the villages, no longer weeping, but walking with the solemn conviction of one who has witnessed the end of all things and found only an eternal beginning. And when the people asked him of the future, he did not warn them of destruction. He spoke only of the steadfast river and the promise of the tree, guiding them to the living source of hope that remained anchored in every age. That's the pure